Hello again, everyone, and welcome back. You are looking at the Vintage Sewing Machine Garage YouTube channel and one of my latest purchases. Now, I have mentioned to you all in the past, I believe, that when I get vintage sewing machines to rescue, almost always, 99% of the time, I have to purchase them. And I bought them everywhere from thrift stores to I've gotten them from individuals who were cleaning out their houses or their parents' houses or their grandparents' houses. And so they can come from many different places. But sometimes I actually visit auctions, and I may have mentioned to you all in my video on where I find sewing machines to restore that sometimes I get them at auctions. Now, when I was first looking for machines, I remember going to the giant auction site eBay, which is not as much as they still have auctions there, but it's not like it once was. And I would pay for the machine, it would be shipped to me, and about half of the time the machine was either heavily damaged or destroyed, which is why I do not purchase machines and have them shipped to me long distance anymore. But you can still find auctions on sewing machines, but they're local. And very often in your own area, at least in North America, Canada and US, you can pull up auction sites where you will have, it's almost like multiple auction houses will go onto these websites and they will have all their stuff listed so people can make bids through the internet, right? They get more interest and more bids that way. And so I got this machine in this carry case. For those of you who are not strangers to vintage sewing machines, you will recognize this as a Singer trapezoidal grass cloth carry case. And this one, for those of you who are new to vintage sewing machines, you might say, well, it looks a little rough. Actually, this looks pretty good compared to some that I've seen. Grass cloth is a wonderful material and it's fairly durable, but people were not always gentle with their machines, especially when they were handed over to other people. So I saw this machine and I made a bid on it, and I thought, I think I would like to restore it. But my question for all of you is, did I overpay? So we're going to take a look and see, what did I get? And I'm going to show you the invoice for what I ended up making my bid, so you have an idea of how this might go if you were to do the same. So let's see, I'm going to set this down. I'm going to zoom in on it so I'm not holding it and it wiggling around on us as we try to take a look. See if we get in a little closer and I'll show it to you. So on the invoice here, you're going to see, I'm going to show you basically what my cost was, and then I'll show you what we got. It says Vintage Singer Sewing Machine and Accessories Untested. Good auction houses will always tell you at least something about the condition. And when it says untested, that means, hey, we don't know if it runs, but here it is. And, they don't always have the expertise or the time or inclination to test anything. So anyway, so let's see. So I got one, right? Everything was counted as one that I was bidding on. The extended price was $80. So my highest bid was, it may have been slightly more. I may have put in $90 or $100. Anyway, it came to $80 and I won the machine with an $80 bid. But remember, when you see that, I had to pay more. And you think, well, gosh, look at the total down there. They charged you $103.96. Well, let's take a look at why. Many of these auction sites have what's called a buyer's premium. It's some sort of markup, and I don't know why. Sometimes it's less, sometimes it's more. It depends on what the item is. It depends on the auction house. Remember, these websites have a variety of, they have many auction companies that list there. So I went in, and I think I've shown you again on that video where I purchased machines. So they charged me basically an upcharge, a premium, and it's based on a percentage, so they charged me $12. And then we had the tax, right? We have here in Ontario, we have HST and then GST for a combination of 18%, which is, for those in the US, you might think of it as sort of a sales tax. Anyway, the total tax was $11.96, and in this case the GST says 5%, they charged 0. I'm not sure why. So the invoice total came to $103.96 Canadian. Now, so in the US you would probably say that's $70-ish or something, plus whatever the tax you would pay, depending on your state or your local tax situation. So that's what I paid. Now, you know, I've made at least one video. We'll have more about, well, how much should you pay for a machine, a vintage sewing machine? How much should it cost? And that's a loaded question because it really depends on the machine, its condition, and so forth. So I'm going to show you all what I got. Well, first we'll take a look at the machine. And remember that, and I think I've shared this with all of you before, that the trapezoidal carry case was originally created for the Singer 301. The Singer 301 was envisioned as a very portable, mobile machine that people could take, because compared to other sewing machines of that era, including Singer's, it was far more portable. Was it as lightweight as a plastic machine today? No, but it was very light in weight compared to those of the rest of its contemporaries, the other machines of its time. Eventually, you sometimes see other sewing machines that have been put in these trapezoidal grass cloth cases, but the original machine that it was designed for was a 301. And this little sticker up here, I think that's like the auction item lot number or something. We'll take that off. And sure enough, it is. It is a Singer 301, and it is the two-tone version. This was called light beige, as that's what Singer called that color, and oyster white. And you all have seen this machine appear on my channel before, and in fact, the channel homepage, the photos, are of this same model of machine, because it was the first machine that I ever restored. Not this particular one, but one just like it, which was actually in better shape than this one. So I wanted to show this to you, and I'm not going to go through the machine today. We'll do that in a different video. But I wanted you to see it. You can see, of course, it has its foot pedal. I have not assessed. I haven't inspected it to see what the condition is. I see the cord here. And if you see any little green color, that's just oxidation on the brass connectors there. But so I got a Singer 301, and just to make sure, I don't know if you guys can see it in here, but there is a bobbin case for it. Remember what I've told you, never buy a 301 or a Singer Featherweight until you know if it has a bobbin case or not, okay? Because if it does not have its bobbin case or that bobbin case doesn't work, you really need to adjust what you're going to pay for it, because you're going to need a bobbin case, and that bobbin case is not going to come cheap. So for those of you just trying, because I'm asking you this question in the video, did I overpay? And so just so you know, it does have its bobbin case, although I have not tested that bobbin case yet. So what else did it come with? They say, and accessories. What are the accessories? Well, first I'll show you. I've got a manual here for a Singer Zigzagger, automatic zigzagger. This was Singer's answer. Singer took longer than other companies to come out with zigzag sewing machines. They would eventually do so, but they took longer. And so in the interim, they came out with this zigzagger attachment. You don't need a zigzag feature in your machine, just use this. Those of you who've ever tried to use one of these, let me know what your thoughts are on that. And then, of course, it has a user manual. Now, if your user manual it has a black page on the cover, that's because this one is missing. Okay, it is missing its cover, and that's not unusual. These were soft cover. You know, it was just they were stapled together, and that's okay. The instructions are here. It's just the cover missing. That's not a problem. And if you are a sewing machine collector, that would be different. All right. So let's take a look. We have this big box here. Of course, this should contain our zigzagger mechanism. Let me tilt the camera down a little bit better for us here. And let's see. And there it is. This is a Singer zigzagger attachment. I think it's been a long time, but I think I actually did a video on these. I actually showed how to oil these. These are all metal. They actually do require some maintenance, you know. This one does not have a lot of scratches. I even sometimes you'll see paint missing. These are the cams. These zigzagger attachment came with cams, and they came in different designs with different colors. The red being, I believe, the most common because this was what was included. And these cams, I believe, are aluminum. In any case, the paint would often chip and scratch, but this one doesn't have any paint loss. And you know what that tells me? It didn't get a lot of use. I think someone was convinced to buy this. Hey, don't you want this? Or maybe it was being bought by someone for someone else. You want them to be able to do zigzag, don't you? You can just picture the sales pitch on that. All right, what else we have here? We have, and there are 3 more cams, and they have different designs on them. And you could use these different designs. Now, this cam that's in here, and this is the one that would be your default, that is your zigzag cam. But if you wanted to do decorative stitches, why not? And these cams look beautiful. In fact, I don't think I've ever seen cams in this shape. What does that tell you, everyone? That tells you whoever got this said, oh, thank you. That was so nice of you to get me that zigzagger. And then they put it away and they never used it. That's the most mint zigzagger I've ever seen. Maybe I'll find a buyer for it who just likes. I once had a wonderful zigzag attachment that someone bought from me because they collected them. They had a massive collection of those things. Anyway, I'll be gentle with this box. It is, 75 years old. It's a little tired. And we have one more. That was just a little sticky note I put there. I have so many parts sitting around. I want to make sure I keep up with what I've got here. Okay, what do we have? We basically have a box of sewing feet and attachments. Now, remember, when you're looking at vintage sewing machine attachments, Singer had different shank styles. The most common, of course, was the low shank styles, like you see on the Singer 99s and 66, and the featherweight and the 201s, and I could go on and on. But the slant-o-matic machines, beginning with the 301, going through the 400 series, the 500 series Rocketeers, and the 600 series, you get into the touch and sews. They all used slant shank feet and attachments. Slant shank meaning the shank. Think of your sewing feet. Think of the shank as the ankle part right up here, okay? And it is slanted. It's not vertical. It's slanted about 10 degrees because, of course, it has to be for the needle bar to be slanted 10 degrees. And anyway, so we've got. I'll lay it out here since I'm asking you guys to tell me if you think I got a good deal or not here. So there is a that says a slotted. You see the slots there. Binder foot. That was binding. Binding was a big deal. And we have a ruffler foot. A lot of the fashions of late 40s, early 50s, of course, had lots of ruffles and pleats. We have an adjustable hammer foot. Sometimes these are all nickel plated, and then sometimes you see this black finish that was part of the black coating that Singer used back in the day. We have a rolled hem foot. Now I know some of these feet were standard, okay, and the reason it's good to take an inspection or an inventory of what you have when you get a machine, whether you got it in an auction or from your neighbor, is because, as I've explained in many other videos before, that sewing attachments, sewing accessories, notions, sewing notions, I believe is the word I used to hear a lot. You would see that in a store. They get mixed around over the years. Whoever had this machine would have known that they had a slant shank machine and it took slant shank accessories. And over the years, whether it was the original owner or a subsequent owner, someone would hand them stuff and say, hey, I'm getting out of sewing, or so-and-so doesn't need this anymore. Would you like it? Oh, sure. And they would say yes, and they'd throw it in the box. So don't assume that everything that you get is going to fit. Okay? Now this is covered in a piece of thread there. This is a this is a zipper foot, and it is actually on a that's interesting, huh? It's on a it's on an adjustable sleeve here. That I'm gonna have to look up the number on this, guys, because normally I have certainly seen slant shank zipper feet before, but not like this. And I'm wondering if this was somehow designed. I'm going to have to look into this because I don't know if this is an adapter of some sort. Maybe it was done to allow you to attach this foot to the slant shank. I don't know. I'll have to find out. If any of you know why this is set up that way, tell me. You can teach me. And then this is this is a newer foot. This is not original, okay? First of all, look at the color. You can see the original nickel plating. This is an original foot, and you see this chrome plating of a new piece, but that's fine. Nothing wrong with it. Well, actually, I misspoke. Of course there's something wrong with it. Wrong in the sense that this is not going to get used on this machine. Remember I told you could find stuff, and sure enough, I'm not surprised at all. You guys see the difference? I'm going to put these 2 feet next to each other. And I'll zoom in, and you guys should be able to see, once I get our cam situated here. This, of course, is a slant shank foot, okay? And you can tell that the shank itself is actually at an angle. But look at this one. It's very vertical, and it's much lower. And that is because it is what? This is a low shank attachment. Someone said, hey, would you like this? Or they could have even gone and bought it thinking maybe they forgot that the feet, it's a Singer, but yes, it will fit Singer machines, but not a Slant-O-Matic. So it looks brand new. In fact, it looks like they realized after they got it, it didn't work. However they got it. And that was that. And here again, we see another foot. This is a foot, of course, that has a low shank as well. So it too is not going to it's not going to work on the Slant-O-Matic, but well, you know, that's okay. It'll be fine for another machine that is a low shank. And here we have another slant shank. This is an edging foot, so you can get your seam allowances. You can get your seams really. You can get right up to the edge of on the piece of fabric to sew. That's my understanding of what it was used for. What's left in here? Oh, how about that? We've got a couple of bobbins. These are. Let's see if these are vintage. I don't know. So one of these looks like a vintage. The bobbins, by the way, for the 301 are the same as they are for the Singer Featherweight. The subsequent generations of Slant-O-Matics, the 400, 500, 600, they don't use this bobbin type. They use the top-loading bobbin. But the 300 series used the same bobbin, and this feels different. It has a different texture, and I'm going to... I'm pretty confident that the bobbin on the left, they're the same size, but the bobbin on the left is probably original to the machine, and this one here Seems to be well made, you know, but it's got a little ridge here. I think this came later. I think this is a later bobbin. So that's what I got, everyone. Did I pay too much? Now, Singer 301s in the color black bring more money simply because they're black, and that's because people want them. They don't sew any better, but you know, that's a very subjective thing. But $103.96. We'll call it $104. What can I sell this machine for? I'm going to be going through it. I'm going to be investing all those hours that, how many I don't know yet, but I go through the entire machine to get it ready. What will someone pay me for it? And I have sort of an idea in my market of what it might bring. So, you know, am I going to be able to recoup that money that I spent? That's a lot of money to spend for a machine that I'm going to go through a full restoration on. Now, if it were there are a few other machines I could pay that much for, but you know, there's a top end in terms of what people are willing to pay for most vintage sewing machines of any brand and model, depending on what they are. So, the box says, hold this up where you can actually see it. The box says, for Class 301 machines. And most of these attachments are for this machine, but again, this is very common. Some of you have discovered this yourself, and it may have confused you. It's like, why is this not working? It just, you get a little bit of everything, a little potluck there. So, in the next video, everyone, I will take the machine out. We'll start going through it and inspecting it. I can already tell by the color, this bobbin tire is really dry rotted. In fact, it's probably very powdery. It's coming apart. The rubber has seen better days, but I'm not worried about that. That's not an expensive change. But would you pay $104, or we'll call it $73, $4 in US dollars? Would you pay that much for a machine that has not been gone through, right? We don't know what its condition is. It's going to need to be gone through by you or someone else. You can pay someone to do it, or you could do it yourself, right? You just need to watch videos like the videos on this channel. So, everyone, if you think that you might be interested in this hobby, the Singer 301 is not a bad machine. It's one of those Singer machines that can be less daunting to overhaul. Now, you may say, oh, every machine looks daunting to me if I've never done one. But this is the first machine I ever restored, and I learned a lot from it. So we'll talk more about this machine as I get into it, and I'll start assessing its condition once I get it out. But I just wanted to kind of show it to you, you know, because this is what I saw. In fact, when I saw it on the auction site, I didn't even get to see all of these. It just had a box. You know, you could see a picture of the box, I think, and the zigzagger box were sitting next to the machine. I think, I'm trying to remember if they even had a picture of the machine or they just had the case. You never know what you're going to get in terms of photos. And I had to make that decision because it is local to me. So if you're going to bid on a sewing machine in an auction, I strongly suggest that you make sure you see where the auction is and look at the pickup times and dates, because they only give you a range of when you can pick up the item. And if it's within a driving distance that you're comfortable with, that can be an option. But this machine was not shipped to me. I went and picked it up because I don't do shipping anymore. And that's why I've had to, unfortunately, I've had so many people reach out to me on the channel. Hey, if I ship my machine to you, we'll restore it, and I'd love to help them, but I don't want to take that chance. The chance is too high that the machine will be harmed. But we'll see. We'll see how this turns out. And it could be that did I overspend? And I won't actually know until I get into to doing this. But again, this is a great example of a machine that you can learn on if you're interested, or maybe you just love the stitches that a Singer 301 gives you, because if you love the Singer Featherweight, you're going to love the 301 in terms of its stitch qualities. So there you go, folks. If you haven't subscribed, please click the little subscribe button here on the channel. And if you would like to donate to the channel to help me find and finance the purchasing of more of these machines so I can rescue and save them, get them ready for new owners, just click on the little link to buy me a coffee. You'll see it on every one of my videos. It takes you straight to my Buy Me a Coffee webpage, and you will recognize it's me because you'll see the same photo that you see on my channel, and you just click on there and you can donate immediately. It's very easy to use, and if you find any of my channel helpful, please consider that, and you can donate however much or little you are inspired to give. And I so appreciate your time, and stay tuned because I will make more videos of this machine. I think, you guys tell me, you go back and check behind me, I think this is the third two-tone Singer 301 I've had on the channel. The first one being, of course, the very first one I ever restored that you see pictures of. And then I've had another one before this. But I never tire of Singer sewing machines, and their straight stitchers are just incredible, and they're great starter machines. So for those of you who are new to vintage sewing machines or new to restoring them, or doesn't matter if you're restoring it for yourself or someone else, you can follow along as I tackle this machine because it's one of the greats. And those of you who have a 301, feel free to chime in, or any of you, any comments you want to make on this machine. Tell me what you think. Tell me what you think I should have paid. Should I have paid more? Well, no one wants to pay more. Or should I have paid less? We're going to find out as I start going through this thing to see what kind of condition it's in. Thank you all for watching. We'll see you next time.